Thank you. I'm not going to be very long here because I know that there's a bed waiting for you and then an early rise tomorrow morning. I want to thank Space Coast Runners and Running Zone and Don and Denise for putting together such a great show here. All of us are empowered by one another. This has been the most remarkable thing that I have seen during my 51 years of running. We actually build the energy together, and we draw off the successes of one another. I know this is certainly true with myself, who I was a fat kid when I started running at the age of 13. And I only started because I went to a new school that required athletics after school, and even though I was fat and even though I was very lazy, I learned from the other lazy kids that the winter track conditioning had the most lenient coach, and all you had to do is jog out to the edge of the woods, and the coach wouldn't bother you. You wouldn't have to actually work out. So for the first 2 days I did that, and as fate would have it, on the third day, an older kid who I liked said, "Galloway, you're coming with us today." And I said, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to hide from him?" We got out there, and the kids started telling jokes and gossip about the teachers, and I couldn't wait to hear the next little bit of juicy gossip as we went. And 10 weeks later, I was hooked, and I've been hooked ever since. I guess there are worse things to get hooked on, but sometimes spouses will disagree with that statement. The person that I was inspired by most in my career was a Native American named Billy Mills. How many of you have heard of Billy Mills? Well, Billy has become a good friend of mine, and we've done numerous clinics together over the years. But Billy was a long shot for making the Olympic team in 1964 in the Tokyo Olympics. He did not feel that he had achieved at the level that he should in college, so he enrolled in the Marines that had a track team, and he had a friend, an ally, who spied on the world record holder in Billy's chosen event, the 10,000 meter. The world record holder at that time was a guy named Ron Clark, and Billy's friend Pat went back to Australia, where Ron Clark lived, and trained with Clark every day. And each week he would send Billy a letter outlining and detailing the workouts so that Billy could actually spy and try these workouts and get ready to compete against Ron Clark. Well, Billy was not able to do these workouts, and in his frustration each day, he would imagine that Ron Clark was just ahead of him, and the finish tape for the Olympic 10K was just ahead, and he would go into a sprint at the end of his workout, and in his mind, he would blow by Ron Clark and win the Olympic gold medal day after day. So it was a long shot that Billy would make the Olympic team, but he did. He improved steadily and overcame about a 2-minute deficit to qualify for the Olympic trials. He was not our best runner. He was quite a bit behind a guy named Jerry Lindgren. But Billy knew that he was going to win that Olympic gold medal. And in 1964, they ran all the runners around the track. If you can imagine, 64 runners running 25 laps around the track in the Olympics to win the gold medal. But this is the way it was. And as you can imagine, in a group of guys, there was a lot of testosterone flowing. Billy went out way too fast and came by the 5K only 1 second slower than Billy's best 5K. And he was spent. I mean, he had spent all his resources. So he looked for a place to drop out. And finally, there was a parting among the officials. So he just glances into the stands just to make sure that there's nobody right there that he knows. And who does he see out of 80,000 people but his wife? Well, he can't drop out in front of his wife. So he decides that he'll hunker down and finish the race. And one runner passes him, and then about 4 or 5 more, and then about 6 or 7 more. And finally, a group of guys goes by him, and he says, "Well, that's it. I'm just going to hang on to the last one of these 6 guys and just try to stay up with them." Well, it happens that in that group, and he didn't notice it because he was so tired, was Ron Clark. So Billy hangs on to this group, and And the group dwindles down to 5 and then 4 and 3, and they go by one runner after another. And with 1 lap to go, it is a trio that's left in the race for the 3 medals. Ron Clark, Mohammed Gammoudi, and Billy Mills. But at this point, Billy is so out of it, so fatigued, that he's just trying to put one foot in front of the other. And they're about to lap somebody with 1 lap to go. So Ron Clark nudges Billy to get him to move out so they can pass this guy and go around him. Well, Billy doesn't even know he's being nudged because he's so fatigued and out of it. Finally, Clark shoves him out into the 3rd lane, goes around the guy, and Gammoudi from Tunisia goes blowing by Billy after Ron Clark. But Gammoudi had this amazingly erratic arm motion, and one of his elbows swung right into Billy's shoulder and hit him really hard and hurt him quite a bit. It woke Billy up, and Billy reverted back in his emotions to playground days. When somebody whomps you, you'll whomp them back. So instead of going after the gold medal, he tells us that his only motivation at that point was to catch up with Gammoudi so he could whomp him. But he wasn't getting that job done. He was getting behind by 10 meters, then 20, then 30, and he was almost 40 meters behind as he rounded the final curve, and he was losing momentum. But he looks down the straightaway, and lo and behold, what does he see? What he has imagined seeing every day for 3 years.